I just think it's silly to say this. The challenge is colossal. It is a colossal challenge ahead of me that I am entering with supreme confidence.
Conor McGregor has never been afraid of making bold predictions, but this time his words have sparked a completely different conversation across the MMA world. Standing before the cameras with 2 championship belts draped over his shoulders and the Irish flag hanging proudly behind him, McGregor made it clear that he isn't returning simply to prove he can still compete. His goal is far bigger than that. He isn't chasing another lightweight title, and he isn't obsessed with settling old rivalries. Instead, he has his sights set on making history by becoming the first fighter ever to capture UFC championships in 3 different weight divisions. To achieve that goal, however, he believes there is only one opponent worth targeting: the reigning welterweight champion, Islam Makhachev. For many fans, that announcement came as a surprise. McGregor is preparing for one of the most important comeback fights of his career after spending years away from active competition. Yet instead of focusing solely on the challenge directly in front of him, he openly discussed a future showdown with the most dominant fighter in the sport today. While critics immediately accused him of looking too far ahead, others viewed his confidence as classic McGregor. Throughout his career, he has built his legacy by chasing the biggest challenges available rather than taking the safest route. Whether becoming the UFC's first simultaneous 2-division champion or headlining the highest-selling events in company history, McGregor has always believed that greatness comes from attempting what others consider impossible. The challenge waiting at welterweight is unlike anything he has faced before. Islam Makhachev isn't simply another champion holding a title belt. He has established himself as one of the most complete mixed martial artists of this generation. Raised in Dagestan under the guidance of Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov and training alongside Khabib Nurmagomedov from childhood, Makhachev developed a style built on relentless discipline, elite wrestling, technical precision, and an unmatched ability to control opponents over 5 rounds. Since capturing UFC gold, he has continued breaking records, defending championships against elite contenders while building one of the longest winning streaks in modern UFC history. After moving to welterweight and becoming a 2-division champion, many analysts now consider him the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. That reality makes McGregor's ambition even more remarkable. He's not calling out a fading champion or searching for an easier path back to the spotlight. He's publicly targeting the man almost everyone agrees is the toughest challenge available. According to McGregor, that's exactly what motivates him. Winning another title only matters if it comes against the very best. That's why he has repeatedly spoken about chasing a triple crown instead of revisiting old rivalries or dropping back down to lightweight. In his eyes, defeating Islam Makhachev would accomplish something no fighter has ever achieved, while simultaneously cementing his place among the greatest competitors the sport has ever produced. Perhaps the biggest surprise, however, wasn't the call-out itself. It was the respect McGregor showed toward Makhachev. For years, the relationship between McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov's camp has been defined by insults, personal attacks, and one of the fiercest rivalries in combat sports history. Nobody expected McGregor to publicly praise a fighter who emerged from that same legendary team. Yet that's exactly what happened. During a recent interview, McGregor openly stated that he believes Islam Makhachev has already surpassed Khabib Nurmagomedov in terms of overall achievements inside the cage. He even ranked Makhachev above both Khabib and Daniel Cormier on his personal list of all-time great fighters, a statement that immediately shocked fans around the world. Coming from McGregor, those words carry enormous weight. This is the same fighter whose rivalry with Khabib became one of the biggest stories in UFC history, creating record-breaking pay-per-view numbers and unforgettable moments inside and outside the octagon. For him to acknowledge that another member of Khabib's camp has accomplished even more suggests this isn't ordinary pre-fight promotion. It reflects genuine respect for what Makhachev has achieved throughout his career. More importantly, it signals that McGregor isn't chasing this fight because of personal hatred. He's chasing it because he sees it as the biggest challenge left in mixed martial arts, a challenge capable of defining the final chapter of his legendary career. While McGregor's comments dominated headlines, the story became even more fascinating once people looked at Islam Makhachev's previous statements. Earlier this year, the reigning welterweight champion wasn't convinced that McGregor would ever fight again. In multiple interviews, Makhachev openly questioned whether the Irish superstar would actually return to the octagon after such a long absence. From his perspective, too much time had passed. McGregor had spent years recovering from a devastating leg injury, building business ventures outside the UFC, and speaking about projects beyond mixed martial arts. To Makhachev, it seemed more likely that McGregor's fighting career had already reached its conclusion than that he would return to challenge the best fighter in the world. His strongest comments centered around one unforgettable moment in UFC history: the night Khabib Nurmagomedov defeated McGregor at UFC 229. Makhachev suggested that the loss affected McGregor on a deeper level than most people realized. He argued that Khabib didn't simply defeat him physically inside the cage, but also changed his confidence as a fighter. It was a bold statement, one that reflected the long-standing belief within Team Khabib that the rivalry had ended permanently in 2018. For months, Makhachev maintained that opinion, repeatedly expressing doubts whenever McGregor's comeback was mentioned. Even as speculation grew, the champion refused to believe the former two-division title holder would truly return. Everything changed once the UFC officially confirmed McGregor's comeback. Instead of dismissing the conversation as unrealistic, Makhachev noticeably adjusted his tone. Speaking after the announcement, he welcomed McGregor's return, describing him as one of the biggest names the sport has ever produced. Rather than mocking the comeback, he acknowledged how important McGregor remains for mixed martial arts as a whole. However, he also reminded everyone that the road back would be anything but easy. According to Makhachev, McGregor's first obstacle is an incredibly dangerous opponent capable of exposing any ring rust after such a lengthy layoff. In other words, before anyone begins discussing future title fights, McGregor first has to prove he still belongs among the sport's elite. That response immediately caught the attention of analysts because it represented a dramatic shift from Makhachev's earlier comments. Gone were the predictions that McGregor would never fight again. Instead, the champion began speaking about him as an active competitor whose future could once again impact the UFC title picture. While he stopped short of promising a championship opportunity, he also didn't close the door. Many observers interpreted that change as an important signal. Makhachev may not be campaigning for the fight, but he no longer dismisses the possibility either. Perhaps even more interesting were Makhachev's technical comments regarding McGregor's fighting style. Despite their camps being connected through one of the UFC's greatest rivalries, Makhachev openly praised McGregor's striking ability. He highlighted the Irishman's famous left hand, describing its timing as one of the best examples of precision striking in mixed martial arts. He even referenced McGregor's legendary 13-second knockout of Jose Aldo, explaining that such a finish wasn't simply about power, but about perfect timing and flawless execution. Coming from a champion celebrated for his wrestling and grappling dominance, that level of praise carried significant credibility. It showed that Makhachev respects McGregor's skills even if he believes his own style would ultimately prevail. Of course, analysts were quick to point out that admiration doesn't automatically translate into victory. Stylistically, this potential matchup remains one of the most intriguing in MMA. McGregor has built his career around controlling distance, landing sharp counters, and ending fights with a single perfectly timed left hand. Makhachev, meanwhile, thrives on closing that distance, forcing opponents into clinches, chaining together takedowns, and gradually draining both their energy and confidence. It's a classic clash of styles: elite precision striking versus relentless pressure and world-class grappling. Many believe the opening rounds would be absolutely critical. If McGregor can keep the fight standing and create early damage, he could make things extremely interesting. But if Makhachev succeeds in dragging the contest into his world, history suggests very few fighters have found a way to escape once he begins imposing his relentless control. That contrast is exactly why so many fans already view this as one of the biggest potential super fights the UFC could make.